Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Patafi. Viewers, we have been focusing on the war of narratives in the country for many days. Today we are going to do the same thing, especially with a focus on the political developments in the country. We know that opposition has been, since the election took place, been trying to develop a narrative that somehow democracy or democratic values are compromised in the country. Recently, we saw Mariam Nawaz actually coming up with a video, a purported video in which she claimed that a judge is making a statement. That is one aspect. Then we saw the counter narrative of the state as well. One aspect that is quite interesting: before this incident, this video release, we haven't seen any particular evidence. We have heard a lot of chatter. Of course, this is a post-truth society, so everybody feels that they are entitled to their own facts. On one side, we have seen that the opposition also has a huge contingent of journalists that are aligned with it. But while they keep on insinuating that many things are happening, we haven't seen that kind of a compromising evidence during the election or later on as well. But now PMLN came up with a video. Now there is a talk of forensic test of the video, whether to verify its veracity. And one aspect that I was being told yesterday is that when you watch the clip, I haven't seen it, but the claim is that the audio and video are not synced. That is quite an interesting aspect as well. But right now, what I have to ask in the program is what exactly is going to be the direction of politics in the country? Is it going to embolden the opposition, which is going to come on streets? Whether the people of Pakistan are going to support their narrative, or whether it is not going to have any impact at all. That is a very important aspect. And where exactly do the people of Pakistan stand right now? Because we heard a lot of speculation. We heard that somehow things are, during Ramzan, the inflation is going to be so high that people will start revolting. We didn't see that happening. After budget also, we heard similar kind of predictions. This is hot weather in which people suffer more and they can protest more as well. We didn't see that either. So what exactly is going on? What exactly is the direction of politics in the country? In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by Javed Siddique Saab, a senior journalist, an anchor, a columnist, an editor and whatnot. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Javed Jadoon Saab, a senior journalist, has worked with state-run organizations. And the third guest, if he shows up, I'm going to introduce him. Otherwise, we are going to continue with the two that are in the studio. Javed Jadoon Saab, thank you very much, sir, as well. Javed Siddique Saab, I have to start with you. What exactly is the direction of politics now? Are you seeing some confrontation on the street or in the parliament?
Well, in the parliament, the opposition today filed, a sort of motion against
no confidence
motion against the chairman Senate, and they are efforting very hard to forge a unity in their ranks and to oust the present chairman Senate, Mr. Sadiq Sanjarani.
So what happens because of that? If they succeed, I mean, what is the damage done to the
government? That has a symbolic value. I mean, they can try again. If they succeed here, the second attempt could be to remove the speaker. Another no confidence motion against the speaker. And that, as you have said, could embolden opposition. That could give them a huge courage to move further and to take another step. But dislodging the current chairman of Senate is also an uphill task for the opposition because it is going to be...
They have the numbers?
They have the numbers, but obviously they have some differences on who is going to be the next chairman.
Okay.
The PMLN has the majority in the Senate, and they claim that it is our right to be to have the chairmanship of the Senate. But between the PPP and PMLN, there seems to be some fissures. But let's see what happens. Secondly,
yeah, but we heard that People's Party has agreed in principle that the chairman Senate will be from PMLN. It is not true.
it is, but I mean, there's a great slip between the cup and the lip.
Yeah,
So that has to be seen. I think in the secret ballot, something could happen.
Okay.
And some of the
Something did happen also.
also in the past.
If you remember last time.
And the as the dynamics of this country, political dynamics is, we may see that the results are quite different from what the opposition is expecting.
Right. Let me go to Javed Jadoon Sahab. Sir, I want to talk about Chairman Senate also at length, but later in the program. First, I want you to comment on the overall direction of politics in the country, especially with the focus on the videotape or the claims that were made about a video release.
Thank you very much, Farooq. I think as far as the videotape incident is concerned, it is very damaging for the institution of judiciary in Pakistan as well.
Judiciary only.
Exactly, because casting aspersions, and as you said in your own intro, that probably the video, the audio are not syncing. And if it is found out that it was a doctored video, I think it would cause great damage to the credibility of Maryam Nawaz Sharif's leadership.
Yeah.
And I think her future endeavors and future projects would be extremely jeopardized. Why? Because I think when you concentrate on protecting the family fortune and you attempt to protect the family dynasty, and of course she is the daughter of the ex-Prime Minister and the Supremo of Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz Sharif.
Yeah,
there is no doubt that she should be.
That thought is important also. Please make your point, and then I have to come back to her being the Supremo of the party. Please go ahead.
So I think basically it seems apparently prima facie that she is endeavoring to bring the party into more difficult terrain, and the other top leadership probably is not willing, as you see them on the media, that they're not willing to go the whole hog as far as the video is concerned.
Yeah.
Mr. Shahbaz Sharif seems to be a more pragmatic leader, and I think he does realize that taking it too far.
He's the kind of pragmatic leader who keeps on bringing his own party down, by the way. But that day when they had the press conference, it was, I thought that regardless of the video, in symbolism and visuals, it was of great import that as a president he starts speaking, and then he says that now Maryam is going to speak. She asks him to stand up, and she sits in his place, and then starts going on about whatever she is. And finally, when she has shown the video and concludes, Shahbaz Sharif refuses to say another word. He concludes the entire press conference and moves away. What does it tell you? Some kind of transition in the party or struggle?
This is what I was trying to say, that I think probably there are differences within the within Pakistan Muslim League and over this particular issue, because without us, as you said, that I think the forensics are yet to be conducted, and we are not in a position right now to say that whether the video was doctored or is a genuine video, unless the forensic report comes in and the forensic examiners they say something about the authenticity of the videotape. So taking the discussion forward, I think I totally agree with you that there are discords between.
It was quite visible.
It was
in
quite
your
visible.
face on television.
I think primarily it should have been the president of the party to say something about this issue. I think he deliberately decided not to take part.
But by the end of it, his facial expressions were as if he has seen a snake. And then he just went away.
I think the snake was there.
I don't know. So your take.
Metaphorically speaking, the
I
snake
don't know
was
what you're talking about, but I just was highlighting the shock on his face.
I think things have taken another turn, and initially the government said that a forensic audit or test would be conducted with regard to this video tape. But later on, Mr. Shahzad Akbar yesterday addressed a press conference and changed the view and said it is up to this judiciary, higher judiciary, to look into this matter. And today, the acting, Chief Justice of the Islamabad High Court met the Chief Justice of Pakistan, Mr. Justice Asif Ali Zardari. They had a 40-minute meeting, and probably something has been decided as to how to move about and go about this video on the judicial level. So if a judicial probe is made and ultimately it is decided or taken a decision that this tape is a fake thing or it is doctored and fabricated, then it is going to have certainly very serious implications for PMLN and particularly the lady.
No, even if it is not doctored per se, the question, there are two questions. I mean, this statement is being made or whatever discussion is going on in the comfort of one's own home, right? The question arises about privacy and anybody's right to actually spy on others, especially when it is not the state institutions which are doing
Spying
it.
is
it not worrying for you?
It is.
Tomorrow, I mean, there might be a time when I have I'm running a high fever and I'm spouting whatever idiotic thing comes in the mind and somebody records it and it goes on television.
You know, the PMLN has a track record of intimidating the judges of the superior courts.
They physically attack the court.
Attack the Supreme Court, 90s, you remember. Justice Sajjad Ali Shah, when the former Prime Minister was summoned in a case of contempt of court case. So he, instead of going there, the PMLN workers and some of the leaders, even MNAs, they launched a physical attack on the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court was divided and split into two groups. And then allegedly, money was being offered, hefty money was being offered to a group of the judges then, I'm talking of 90s. Similarly, Justice Qayyum's affair, he was also taped. And so therefore I think these things have been happening in PMLN's leadership.
No, I understand. My concern is actually not judiciary because it is a powerful institution which can take care of itself. I am talking about this matter as a citizen who has a right to privacy, right? And somehow, if everything starts leaking and then there is high-profile press conference and then televisions carry it, and then anybody can be maligned, right?
Yes, but I think...
You realize there are certain aspects of journalists, certain, groups of journalists which are actually highlighting checking what bottles were lying on the table.
Exactly, but I think it has other dimensions as well. The very fact that Mr. Nasir Bhatt, a very close confidant of Mr. Nawaz Sharif and his family, and PMLN head in London, of London PMLN chapter, how he had managed to go so close to the judge who was hearing a case against the former Prime Minister, Mr. Nawaz Sharif.
No, it is after that, after the verdict has been given.
Yeah, but okay, but the judge should have been very careful about it. I think this is an aspect which is being discussed in the legal fraternity.
Let me go to the telephone. I'm told Shafqat Mahmood Saab, the federal minister and a senior leader of PTI, has joined us. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. The question is about the purported video. What exactly is the government going to do about it, sir?
I think we don't have to do anything about it. This is a video which was brought to the fore by PMLN. They have raised some allegations. The judge has denied those allegations. So it's for them to prove that their allegations are correct, and they should produce some kind of forensic evidence if they have any. And government has nothing to do with it. They have attacked the judiciary. Judiciary has denied it. So it's up to them to show what they have as proof.
Judiciary and executive power, it doesn't come under the judiciary. So is it not true that your government has to initiate some kind of litigation just to disprove and to frame the case that there might be some kind of attempt to undermine democracy and judiciary in the country?
No, we don't have anything to do with it. This is an attack on the judiciary. First, I think that those who have leveled an allegation, they are the ones who should be proving it, and they should be giving evidence in favor of it. And second of all, if they can't do it, then it's up to the judiciary, because judiciary is being attacked. So I don't think government has anything to do with it.
Let me now talk about another very crucial issue, because today the opposition in the parliament has moved a no confidence resolution against the sitting chairman Senate. He is your government's ally, and he comes from a party that is government's ally. Do tell us, what is the strategy of the government to counter that move?
Well, we will vote for him, obviously. But the rest of it is what the numbers game. It's a parliamentary process. We will see how it happens. We will vote for him, but obviously the process will play itself out.
And if I know this is hypothetical, but if the opposition manages to remove him, then there will be a voting for new, Chairman Senate. Will you support the same name again, or will you come up with your own party's nominee, sir?
Questions, we will cross that bridge when we come to it.
Right. Shafqat Mahmood sahab, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being with us on telephone. Let us come back to the studio. Now, we have to talk about Chairman Senate also. And Javed Jadoon sahab, I have to come to you regarding that aspect, because it is important. What exactly does People's Party think it is going to achieve by replacing him or removing him?
To start with, there is no unanimity of views as far as the new Senate chairman is concerned.
Right.
Even as of now, I think they have not decided who is going to be nominated as the next chairman.
I get it, and we are going to talk about that as well. The question right now, because it was said that it has symbolic worth, right? What exactly is that symbolism? We know Asif Ali Zardari's idea it is.
I think the only reason they are going to go for this particular move is to put pressure on the government, and they just want to prove the numbers in the Senate. And if they succeed, as you said, that in case if they succeed, I think this is going to really dent the credibility of the government in numbers game in the Senate, in the upper house. Yeah. And then they can trigger, it could be, a new chain of events could be triggered as well. But I really doubt that combined opposition will be able to succeed.
That chain of events?
Farooq, we all know the dynamics of politics in Pakistan. We do understand that how the sitting chairman was elected. He was the brand new face in the Senate.
Zero experience
and
in Parliament.
Nobody expected him to be the chairman Senate, who comes as at number 3 position in the hierarchy in Pakistan, and that's extremely important position in the parliamentary democracy as well as the upper house. And looking at the whole process, it was very surprising that even Pakistan People's Party voted for him, and he was elected with, I think, 10-12 votes majority in that particular time period. And now all of a sudden we see that Pakistan People's Party has started shifting its stand, and now they want the change. Now, why they want the change, and why PMLN and other political parties? But another, I think, more stranger element or dimension is that the unelected leadership of the other political parties is spearheading this campaign, which is very unfortunate. I think it is part of the democratic process. The changes, Farooq, do take place,
in order to,
but with the intentions to destabilize the system. I think this is the.
I want to understand. When People's Party decided that it is going to vote for the current, the incumbent chairman Senate, at that time they had their own party's member who was actually heading Senate. If you remember,
yes,
Raza Rabbani Sahab. They managed to remove him. They managed to replace him with somebody who is from, as you have pointed out, with zero experience of parliament. from Balochistan, and he was promoted to that position. And today, the same Zardari Saab wants to reverse that decision. What was the symbolism then?
And
What is the symbolism right now? This is what I want to understand, because that will show me and rest of the audience how do these parties treat the worth of individuals like Raza Rabbani. Sir.
I think I would take the discussion back to the time period when Mr. Zardari challenged Pakistan's security establishment and said that they come for 3 years and we, the politicians, we are the permanent factor in Pakistani politics. And I think that backfired, and then he went on the defensive. And most probably,
then he sought
secondly,
Nawaz Sharif's support.
Yes.
That was not coming.
Not coming.
And
exactly.
then he said, I'm going
and
to take
I
revenge.
think that was the element of mistrust between the two political parties was also there, that one can probably broker a deal with the government and the other could be left high and dry. And now why they are changing their perspective? I think in that particular time period, they believed that if they go for the election, and I think even most of the observers were talking about that this particular gentleman is backed by the establishment.
And I'm going to come back to you, sir. I'm told that Maiza Hamid, MNA of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, has joined us on telephone. Maiza Sahiba, thank you very much for your time. Number one, let us talk about the tape that came out. What do you seek to achieve through that? And the second aspect is, of course, the Senate election. I'm going to ask about both, but first let us talk about your strategy regarding the videotape and what happens later.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You're welcome and thank you for inviting me. My point of view, and I think generally what is thought of the recording is that the ruling that was given against Mia Muhammad Nawaz Sharif was obviously not justified. So I think the government should give an application for judicial commission to the courts, and a judicial commission should be formed so that a true investigation should take place, and the truth should come out. And I believe that Mia Muhammad Nawaz Sharif stands exonerated.
If a judicial commission is formed and if there is an investigation, whatever the verdict, are you going to accept it even if it doesn't come in your favor?
I believe that it will come in our favor, and the recording concerned that right now PTI is trying.
Right. Of course, everybody believes that they are going to win, but what if you lose again? Are you going to accept that result then?
Obviously, we're going to accept the result because we believe that the tape is authentic, and I believe the government of the day, PTIs, also believe that the tape is authentic. That's why they are distancing themselves from the tape.
No, actually, it is some heavy weightlifting when it comes to testing this tape and other things. That's why they don't want to have any part in it, and they want the judiciary to take its due course. But with due respect, regarding the outcome, you are going to accept whatever the results come out. Is it what you're saying? Okay, she has left. Right, sir. Let us come back to what we were talking about earlier. So, Chairman Senate.
Yes.
And Asif Ali Zardari at that time thought that this man he has elected is a representative from the establishment.
I think this is what he believed, that he is being backed by. He probably believed that Mr. Sinjani was being backed by.
It was his minions, his people, Asif Ali Zardaris, who were spending money in Quetta. They brought down the Quetta government first, and then they came here, and he said that it is I who is doing it. And then the moment Chairman Senate and Deputy Chairman Senate were elected, if you remember, Ek Zardari Sape Bhari slogans were heard in the parliament, on the floor of the house. Is it not true?
Farooq, if we recall the events, I think we know that there was a lot of difference of opinion within the party, and most of the senior leaders were not ready to support Sinjani, and I think They were
Like
in favor
whom?
of,
Like whom? Can you name a few?
I think, quite a few people, Faratullah Babar, etc. I think he was very...
Faratullah Babar was sitting next to Bilawal Bhutto Zardari today, right?
Yes.
And this is the problem. I mean, I don't know why do these people do it right now. There was this feeler that if Raza Rabbani is nominated again, and both the parties will have consensus. The problem is, after what has happened to Raza Rabbani, if I were in his place, I would have refused the very idea or shunned it personally. But my concern is that if I understand that we live in a partly feudal society where the leadership of parties have this personal entitlement, sense of entitlement. But the people who work tirelessly for those parties, should they be allowing themselves to be destroyed systematically if they become too big for their boots?
I think this entire move by the opposition, and particularly by PPP,
Sir.
be seen in a different perspective. And the perspective is that Mr. Zardari is trying desperately to have some kind of deal with the establishment.
Okay.
He wants to get rid of this process of accountability. He feels that he is in a real trouble. He's in a thick soup. So therefore, he is making these moves that he's a kind of card that he is playing. That during this process, if the establishment or their representatives contact him or his party to not to support the PMLN candidate and support Mr. Sadiq Sanjarani, then probably he can get some relief. So if you look at it, since the famous statement or otherwise the statement infamous statement that he had made earlier regarding the establishment. Yeah. So, then he withdrew and
he claimed at that time that he is going to rock the moorings of the state and it is going to shut the country down
and he had to,
from course, one border to
so
another.
he had to flee the country, he had to retract on that, whatever he had said. And since then he has been trying desperately to win the support of the establishment, to get closer to them.
So let me deconstruct what you just said. You said he had to flee the country. I mean, that would actually indicate that there perhaps was some kind of follow-up or some kind of persecution. But with due respect, the truth is that most of these demons might be in one's own imagination or mind.
No, but we
didn't see that kind of
Immediately when he left Pakistan and he went to Dubai, Dr. Asim, his front man, was immediately arrested.
No, he was arrested beforehand.
So
that's why he came out.
He
got angry.
Right, but I think this is interconnected. So he could see the coming events, the evil events that would come and may overtake him.
This
now,
is what I'm saying. We have been, a lot of our journalist colleagues have been calling him, talking him up, right? They have been saying that he is PhD in politics, ek Zardari sab pe bhari, agli bari phir Zardari, right?
People are saying...
In that situation, one does get a big head. And sometimes most of the demons you are fighting and most of the deals you are cutting are all in your head.
Not only that, but he has the experience of Pakistani politics. So he understands the dynamics. That is why his primary objective today is how to get himself away from, or to wean away from this situation where he is being tried by the accountability court. References are being filed against him and his sister. So he thinks that any card that he could play possibly to get some relief in this process would be a great achievement for him. And
no, but this is what I don't understand. I wrote that day when he elected Sanjarani Saab as the chairman Senate. And by the way, at that time he was totally without experience. He is not without experience now. He is chairman Senate. He has been there for some time, right? But I said that Asif Ali Zardari has snatched, a failure out of, defeat out of the jaws of success.
But I think...
But he demoted his own party.
Exactly, but I think that then, his primary objective was to win the support of the establishment, and he thought that he should be on the right side of the establishment. He could fear all these things coming one after the other successively.
Yeah,
So
but if I
he
want to earn your, goodwill, then I first have to talk to you. And there is
Right.
no evidence that he spoke to those people. He's
if you go back,
implying that
if you
he's talking to-
recall and go back, Sadiq Sanjarani was considered to be a candidate of the establishment. And
But it was an impression that was being given by People's Party itself.
no, but you see, those people who were,
Jadal Sahab, you can, jump in whenever
no,
you
he
want.
is not PPP candidate. In fact, then the impression was, the dominant impression was that he is being fielded by some invisible hands, and Mr.
But
Zardari
those
is
invisible
supporting.
hands would need Asif Ali Zardari's money or his presence, because Asif Ali Zardari spent quite a lot of time in Balochistan. Then all of a sudden Muslim League Nawaz and other parties, candidates actually join hand and they establish a party called Balochistan Awami Party, BAP. And after that, you actually, succeed in bringing them to power.
And
It
became
is all
a ally
people's-
of PTI.
Yeah, but it is all the doings of People's Party. It is
It
not
is.
the doings of any establishment.
No,
so
it
to
is.
speak.
It is the doing of the. Apparently, it looks that it was all PPP moves.
Yeah.
But
So why should I believe in any mythical creature called
but I
establishment?
think every move, the political move that takes place in Pakistan, or any move that is made by political people, if you look at the chessboard of the politics, then you will understand that what is the real motive, who is behind it. So therefore, I am seeing it in that context.
No, with
and
due
I
respect,
still,
you're looking at it as a game of chess. I'm looking at it as a game of cards. And in game of cards, there is only one card which you cannot place, which doesn't have
you have
a
your
fixed
own,
worth.
You have your own.
I am trying to imply that Asif Ali Zardari might be that card and he doesn't even know his worth.
I think he is playing another card to get some kind of relief in his
Will
present.
he get it?
That I don't know.
But as
He's trying.
as an analyst who has seen
He
politics,
is
of-
trying, and even during this move, if he is assured that okay, go ahead and support this. Ask your people. The members of the Senate to vote for Mr. Sanjarani. I think he will withdraw and he will be ready.
But it is a kind of negotiation, or
Exactly.
you putting yourself out.
A bargaining chip.
Putting
Bargaining a
yourself out.
chip.
Okay, but Javed Jadul Sahab has the other aspect. You can talk about these matters. Personally, it makes me, it saddens me that when you actually trade people without knowing their worth. Asif Ali Zardari didn't know the worth of Raza Rabbani, or now he doesn't know the worth of Sanjarani Sahab. That saddens me because that is the class A example of feudal mentality, right? But here's another aspect, grudges, especially since Zardari Sahab had a grudge against PMLN. PMLN's difficult days were heightened because of his stances, right? So why should PMLN let it go and support their move?
There are three important points I would like to highlight. One is that they have got common causes right now, the two main political parties and their leadership, and that is
To get their leaders out of jail?
I think there's no two opinions, that they are in very difficult situation. Mr. Nawaz Sharif, aged man, sick man, and in this particular time period, hot summers, surviving in the jail conditions is not his, I think, probably beyond his endurance. Mr.
Yeah.
Zardari, if you look at his today's, I saw his picture in today's newspaper, very fragile and very weak man, and not the person he used to be when he used to say that I spent 11, 12 years in jail. Today, I think is a very different situation, different ball game.
India's former Prime Minister, Narasimha Rao, died in jail, right? We know that. Somehow we have to actually conclude that these people who are behind bars and they are suffering are different from the common man who might be behind bars and might have the same age, might have the same level of fragility?
No, I understand
And
what you're
secondly,
saying.
if, what you're saying
Farhan,
implies
talking about
some,
the level of endurance.
yeah.
I think
And
that is
parties-
why they're
should we
trying to.
confuse parties with individuals?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think parties are important, individuals are not in any political democratic system. I think secondly, what was being discussed, the change of heart as far as Mr. Zardari is concerned, I think is a very it's an act of desperation. It's nothing else. He believes that he believes that by changing the chairman of Senate, he might have some say in the national politics, and as Javed Siddique Sahab said, as a bargaining chip in future he could use it. But I think it's a not a win-win situation for Mr. Zardari and Mr. Nawaz Sharif.
I tell you, I'm privy to settle.
I just add one thing. I think, in my personal opinion, Farooq, the era of Mr. Zardari and Mr. Nawaz Sharif is over.
Okay.
No matter how hard they try and how hard they strive to stage a comeback in Pakistani politics, I think it is a done deal. And they should realize the sooner the better. They should let their own, even if they believe in dynastic politics, they should allow their children to come forward and be pragmatic. Otherwise, I think politics of confrontation is not going to pay them. Mr. Mariam Nawaz, the way she is conducting politics, I don't see any chances of PMLN coming back into power, even in the remote future, unless they try for the pragmatic politics. I think confrontation.
No, but their pragmatic politics divides their party, because there is a huge confrontation between, or polarization between, the House of Nawaz and House of Shahbaz. And that is about ascendancy.
It will settle down. The dust will settle down in the coming months.
Had they come out
ultimately, I think one of them will prevail, and the party will take the course, whoever wins.
Yeah, but had they actually resolved this conflict, Nawaz Sharif perhaps would have become yesterday's news. But that is not the case now.
Farooq, the only resolution of this power struggle is one of them will prevail, and the other party will be on the back seat. And I think if Mr. Shahbaz Sharif wins, party will see a different face, a different approach, a different dimension of politics. And if Ms. Mariam Nawaz is there, I think then we see the politics of confrontation continuing, and ultimately PTI will benefit out of it.
The point that I'm trying to make, and I feel that during the election, no matter how much they actually, relate or actually try to identify other factors that might have brought them down, it was primarily PMLN itself and this clash of clans that actually brought PMLN down. Because before the Panama, during the sit-in, it was Shahbaz Sharif that seemed to be undermining the House of Nawaz. And later in the election, we saw that perhaps it was Mariam Nawaz which had the enthusiasm gap, because she thought that Shahbaz is going to have it made. So her flank didn't support him.
Yeah, I think there are two strands of thought in PMLN.
Right.
One is owned or honed by Miss Mariam Nawaz, and that is the mode of confrontation. And she probably has two perceived rivals in politics, the judiciary and the establishment, military establishment. And this tape, the so-called tape and doctor tape, and whether it is real
Whatever
or
it
not, whatever, is another attempt actually to malign these two institutions and also to blackmail them to some extent. So therefore, this has been a very popular tactic with this party and its leadership. In the past, as I've said earlier, they have used these kind of tactics, but they were not productive for them. They were not useful. Again, they have employed the same, method to get, some benefit for them and to get some relief for the father who is in jail. But I don't think she'll be able to achieve anything through these tactics which they have applied again and again.
Okay.
They have to be very pragmatic. They have to be very, very practical. In the real politics, I think you have to analyze the situation on the ground, the realities, and then you have to devise your strategy all over the world. The leaders have been doing it.
Sir, whosoever prevails, who has the more tendency to trust Asif Ali Zardari, Mariam Nawaz or Shahbaz Sharif?
I think Shahbaz is more pragmatic and a practical politician. He would like to have some kind of understanding with PPP in the larger interest of the party and in the larger interest of the future.
Okay.
But
Very quickly, because I'm told we are left with 2 minutes, do you think that the opposition will manage to change the chairman Senate?
I have my doubts.
You have serious doubts?
Yeah, I have.
Right, sir. Your point of view.
Farooq, as I've already said, it's very difficult for the opposition to dislodge the Senate chairman.
Okay.
Numbers game will change and
Be-
secret ballot.
Because it is a secret ballot.
Secret ballot, of course.
Right.
And I think it's an exercise in futility and they will damage themselves.
They might have damaged themselves
Already.
in Balochistan already because the chairman Senate comes from Balochistan.
Absolutely.
And the Balochistan province
We
doesn't
still
have
remember the
numbers.
rhetoric of Mr. Zardari when the chairman was elected. He said it's a win-win situation for Pakistan.
Yeah.
The smaller province, the deprived province of Pakistan, has been
And
represented.
somehow that province is no more
And
deprived.
And as a footnote,
Sir.
even if they change, they're able to change the chairman Senate, that will heighten the confrontation in politics. It will not be a solution
No,
at all.
I tell you before I go for the conclusion, sir, but I tell you as a voter and as a citizen, the time when whatever was done to Raza Rabbani, that was an inflection point in my thinking also. Because I used to believe that it is about democracy. That day it was proven it is about feudal spirit.
But Mr. Zardari considers a person valuable,
Right.
you know.
I'm told, Javed Siddiq Sahab, that we have to conclude the program. Thank you very much for your time. Javed Jadoon Sahab, thank you very much for your time as well. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. One thing is for sure, regardless of what happens with the tape, with the video footage, when you look at the votes in the Senate and when you look at this recent move in the Senate as well, one thing it tells you about democracy or the traditional democracy in the country, that somehow it is about few families and their habit of deciding fate of people who might have made many sacrifices for the party. And that should worry everybody. It is not that PTI is different or not, or this party or that party is different. This dynastic issue is okay in many people's view. But when it comes to the feudal spirit, that actually undercuts the very foundation of democratic principle. And that's why perhaps these parties find themselves in thick soup, in hot waters. Let us hope in coming days these parties have some internal mechanism of introspection as well, because nobody should be allowed to behave in such manner. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.